We have an attorney general who's such a fan of Donald Trump as he's even emulated by cheating on his wife. He was caught cheating on video on the golf course. He cheated on his taxes, he cheated on his business loans, he cheated on his wives, he cheated on the business contractors that he stiffed through 40 years of business, and he tried to cheat in the 2020 election. Now he's trying to cheat and win this 2026 midterm election because he knows he can't win.
You know, this Texas voter clearly is not holding back on Donald Trump and the Republican Party's scheme to unjustly tip the scales in their favor ahead of the 2026 midterms.
If Texas House Republicans bow down to Trump like Abbott did, the other red states will follow. And if they do that, then America will be under assault. To me, House Republicans, in this case, are like a bunch of buzzards on the fence, waiting to swoop down on a dying carcass of democracy. They are telling you that your integrity, your honor, and your duty is for sale. And he is the buyer. And if you obey, you will be rewarded by not being primaried. And if you stand up to him and say no, you will be punished and primaried. And it's that diabolical, it's that simple. In other words, and I don't say this lightly, in other words, he's asking each of you to be one, pardon this word, I mean it in a philosophical way, not a sexual way, but he's asking every one of the Republican representatives in this room to be one of his prostitutes.
It truly is that simple, and the smile on the man in the background signals he knows how the game is played too. The quid pro quo of blind loyalty, no matter how much it hurts the people in exchange for political protection, is textbook authoritarianism, just like this redistricting scam is.
And what's happening in Texas is Trump's most tangible plan to rig the 2026 midterms. It would give Texas Republicans nearly 80% of seats in a state where Trump only won 56% of the vote in 2024. And it's really unprecedented because this Texas map is already gerrymandered by Republicans. It already limits Democratic representation. It already limits representation for communities of color. And now that would be much worse. It would be even more skewed. People of color are 60% of the state of Texas, but white people control 65% of the districts. They're trying to pick up seats for Republicans by diluting the power of communities of color in Texas, by dismantling a district held by one Black Democrat, a district held by another Latino Democrat, districts that are supporting other Democrats from communities of color. So a third of Texans are moved around in these maps, but 2/3 of Texans of color are moved around in this maps.
You know, Texas Republicans, they're not just redrawing maps, they're redrawing democracy. What you just heard is the sound of racial gerrymandering in real time. The strategy is clear: dilute Black and brown voting power to secure a partisan advantage. And they've done it before, whether it's in the South, the Midwest, anywhere else. These lines are never just about geography. They're about power, power that's been hoarded through a long American history of excluding people of color from full participation. This isn't accidental, it's strategic, and the stakes are enormous. Because when you rig the map, you rig policy from education and healthcare to criminal justice and environmental protections. The communities most impacted by racist redistricting are the same ones underrepresented in every major decision. Not just systemic racism, it's electoral apartheid dressed up as strategy.
There already is litigation about the original map that they put in place. Now they want to change it again. That no doubt will end up being litigated too. But let me be clear that they are attempting to cheat. And, you know, I think we all know Donald Trump is a cheater. Yeah. So is the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, in so many ways. And
a statement from the wife of Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says she made the decision on, quote, biblical grounds, listing adultery in her divorce petition.
And if you still think this is about fair elections, take a look at what Republican leaders like Ken Paxton and Greg Abbott are actually doing. Paxton is under indictment, yet he's using his position to consolidate even more power. He pushes voter suppression laws with one hand, pretends to care about fairness with the other. That's not integrity, it's impunity. And Abbott, well, he's busy punishing cities that don't toe the party line. It's not governing, it's retaliation. Brian Harrison, same playbook. And the shamelessness of it all, it's the clearest sign they're not doing this for you. They're doing it for themselves, their donors, and to keep their party afloat, even if democracy drowns in the process. Every lie, every line on those gerrymandered maps is a reminder. They don't trust voters, especially when those voters look like us or don't vote the way we want.
So we're doing something that's completely legal, it's completely constitutional, and I am doing everything I can in my power as an elected member of the state of Texas to make sure that the state of Texas does everything in its power to make sure that Republicans hold on to a majority in the United States Congress. It's as simple as that.
It would be bribery if any lawmaker took money to perform or to refuse to perform an act in the legislature. And the reports are these legislators have been both, they sought money and they offered money to skip the vote, to leave the legislature, to take a legislative act. That would be bribery. And so the facts will have to come out. But I think based upon comments made by legislators themselves, they face a possibility of facing bribery charges, which is a second-degree felony in the state of Texas.
The sergeant-at-arms and any officers appointed by her are directed to send for all absentees whose attendance is not excused for the purposes of securing and maintaining their attendance under warrant of arrest, if necessary, until further order of the House.
Let's be clear. This kind of redistricting should be illegal, period. We need federal protections that guarantee equal representation, not just in theory, but in every vote, every district, every map. Because if we let this slide in Texas, it becomes a blueprint nationwide. You start seeing copycats in Florida, Ohio, Georgia, all under the guise of legality. But when the law is weaponized to silence the people, it's not justice, it's tyranny with a fresh coat of paint. This isn't just about 2026. It's about whether our democracy survives 2030, 2040, and beyond. Because if politicians can pick their voters instead of the other way around, we're no longer a government by the people. We're something else entirely. And history tells us that something is never good. So speak up, show up, stay awake. Gerrymandering, it's getting toxic fast.